This is the Simpit. I'm your host, Shaun Cole, but the real star of today's show is the mighty mouse of direct drive wheels from Simagic, that being the Alpha Mini. Now, I call it the mighty mouse of direct drive wheels because this little compact direct drive wheel packs quite a punch in a little small package. I also call it the mighty mouse of wheels because it is the lowest horsepower, the lowest Newton meter wheel available from Simagic, coming in beneath the elusive Alpha Ultimate, as well as the recently reviewed Alpha Alpha, as I like to call it, that we showed on the show not too long ago. Now, the mighty mouse of direct drive wheels, the Alpha Mini, comes in packing 10 Newton meters of power, coming in at only $599 for the base only. The Alpha Mini is not only one of 3 choices when it comes to wheelbases from Simagic, but it is part of their ecosystem. So you've got the bases to choose from, you've got a variety of wheel rims to choose from, you've got a pedal set, a handbrake, and even a sequential shifter. At this point, we have reviewed the Alpha Alpha base along with 3 of the wheel rims that Simagic had available at the time, that being the GT1D or flat bottom version, as well as the GT1 round wheel, and we also used the GT4 butterfly formula style wheel rim in that review, so you can check that review out if you want to hear more about these rims. But today we are really focusing all of our energy or all of our attention on the Alpha Mini base in particular. I did mention this base comes in at $599, but you actually can get a slight discount if you buy it as a bundle with the wheel rims from Ricmotech, who I'd like to thank because they sent these rims and this unit over for review, and they're one of the North American retailers of Simagic products. As the lowest tier in the Simagic lineup of bases, you would think the Mini was a lightweight wheelbase, but that is far from the case. At 10 Newton meters, it does pack quite a punch, and it features a lot of the other high-end things that you'd expect in a direct drive wheel, like a super high-resolution encoder, 3 onboard CPUs. The base has 1 millisecond response time with a refresh rate of 1 Hz and 40 Hz for force feedback. And those are the kind of stats that can rival any direct drive wheelbase on the market. It also comes with and includes that NRG style quick release that is wireless connection and compatible with all of the Simagic wheel rims to choose from. With that wireless connection being 2.4 gigahertz or Bluetooth type connectivity. The Alpha base uses the same software as the other bases, that being the updated SimPro Manager. Now, as far as packaging goes, the Alpha Mini comes in the same type of packaging that we saw from the Alpha Alpha, that being in a really nice high-tech box with a cutout foam interior that includes the base and the accessories. This includes a USB cable to the computer, mounting hardware, and the power supply along with an adapter. Looking at the base, it is a black on black rectangular box. This is the typical shape that you expect from most direct drive wheels, and it is square along the bottom with a slight step-down shape at the top. The overall measurements of the Alpha base are only 4.3 inches or 110 millimeters wide by 4.3 inches or 110 millimeters tall by 6.5 inches or 165 millimeters long, plus the quick-release shaft that extends another 4 inches or 102 millimeters. That brings the total length to 10.5 inches or 254 millimeters long. On the top side, you've got the laser-etched Simagic logo along with the Alpha Mini character. The left side has a power port plug along with the computer USB connection point, and on the right side, it has the CAN bus connector for the shifter, and it also works for updating the wheel rims if you need to. The bottom side is rather plain except for the 4 mounting holes, and the back is plain except for the manufacturer's sticker. On the front side, there's a carbon fiber round cover with the Simagic logo at the top, and that top spot also has the power light. Also on the front is the 4 square threaded front mounting holes, with these holes being at 91.92 millimeters apart, up and down and left to right. And on the sides, there are 2 M6 mounting holes spaced at 50 millimeters apart. That bottom side mounting location are 4 M6 holes at 78.4 millimeters wide and 66 millimeters front to back apart, which is the same as the Fanatic main 4-bolt pattern. One of the things that I love the most about the Simagic wheelbases across their entire lineup are the amount of wheel mounting options that they give you. As far as I know, they give you more options than just about anybody out there in the market. First, you've got the 4 front mounting holes, which are great for people using profile rigs with those custom front mounts that is pretty standard and pretty awesome. In addition to that, they make their own adjustable side mounts that work with those side mounts that give you angle adjustment and are going to be great for anybody with like a DIY or a desk type or a wood type rig of any kind, where you can just bolt it to that flat surface and adjust the angle. And then they have this standard bottom mounts like the Fanatic main 4-bolt pattern that you're going to find on just about every sim rig on planet Earth. In my case, for testing, I'm using my RC P1 chassis, which of course has the 4-bolt standard Fanatic pattern. So 4 bolts later, with the supplied hardware from Simagic, I had the wheelbase on my rig ready to go. Just had to plug in the USB cable to the computer and then plug into the power supply. Once the wheel's all set up, it's time to move on to the software side of things, and it is pretty easy or simple to get things running there as well. And at the simagic.com website, once you're on the Alpha Mini or any of the products page, you can see a download tab. And there you will actually find the latest version of the software, which in this case, we're going to use their new beta software, which is upgraded or slightly different than the software we used with the regular alpha base, as I like to call it. After installing the software, it will then update the firmware of your base and you're up and running. And since we've already covered their software for the most part, I am not going to go into great detail on all the settings, but I will say they do have profiles that you can just load for any and every sim out there, and those are really good starting points. You might just do a little bit of tailoring, but let's go ahead and go through the software and see some of the features real quickly, starting with the main menu, where you can see a list of games at the top. You've got cloud saves versus local saves of setups that you would have made yourself. Below that, you can see the total force. This is your one-stop shopping for adjusting the strength of the steering wheel, the force feedback strength, and then of course the steering angle. And here is where you can just very quickly load up any of the sims that you're looking to run. And again, those are good starting points. Below that, you can see the clutch. Those are for the clutch paddles when you operate them. And then if you have the pedals or the handbrake plugged in, you'll see those register on the right-hand side. The next tab down is the Games tab, where you can see a list of games and you can make adjustments or start new games or any of that kind of stuff that you want to do. The next tab down is actually where you see your devices, and this is where you can make the more fine adjustments to the force feedback. So you've got a bunch of things, and each heading actually has a little question mark next to it. So total force, higher values equals stronger force feedback, lower values, lower force feedback, as you'd expect. But there is a description for each and every one of the categories of adjustments that you can make to the base, like the smoothing level. How smooth is the force feedback? Wheel return speed. How quickly does it turn back from the other direction? Vehicle suspension, mechanical spring, mechanical damper, mechanical friction, dynamic damper, and interpolation level. And again, if you save any of your settings as a profile, you would then be able to load it at any moment. So right now, this is just the settings for the iRacing as a sim. And just for comparison's sake, real quick, let's just put in AC sim. And you can see that there are some changes in their baseline per game. And those are the kind of things that you are going to adjust to get the most feeling or get it as close to the way you want it to feel in game for yourself. And then below that, finally, you have the options. You can see we are running SimPro Manager 1.1.1 beta version, and this is the new one with the red background versus the blue that we used in the Alpha review. And now it's time for the fun part, that is testing the wheelbase out on track. And again, this is not a lightweight wheelbase. At 10 Newton meters, this is a powerful beast of a wheelbase, despite being the smallest in the lineup from Simagic. I did mention at the beginning that the review would be on the wheelbase itself, but you can't drive a wheelbase without a wheel rim. So I did use both the GT1 and GT4 rims for my testing, and that does point out something else, which is that Simagic really has expanded their lineup of wheel rims. So you have so many different rims to choose from to really go along with this wheelbase. And they are all wireless and all utilize that NRG style quick release that I am such a fan of. It is a rock solid mount that allows any of the rims to be used with a very rigid and very dependable connection. But we are more here to talk about the feeling, the force feedback effects, and the overall power of the wheel. The Simagic Alpha Mini is as smooth as its big brother, the Alpha. When it comes to rotational friction on the motor, there is very little, and that allows the driver to really tune in the amount of friction or resistance that they want for driving. I'm not talking about force feedback power yet, as much as I'm talking about the forces of the wheel when not delivering high force feedback. The smoothness or lack of friction also allows the force feedback to be felt that much more, as it is not being used or spent just fighting unnecessary friction. That also makes for very fast hitting effects and a wheel that feels very in tune with the game or sim. Another part of the lack of friction, and an area this wheel might even be superior to the standard Alpha, is that there is very little mass inside this wheel to move. That is most noticeable when reversing from lock to lock or swerving the car back and forth. It's not just slowing down the mass to stop turning, but the strength to reverse that direction the opposite way. This wheel is fast turning, quick responding, and buttery smooth. At 10 Newton meters, this wheel will not overwhelm you or overpower you. However, when turned up, it is still enough to provide what I would call medium to high force feedback levels. That is more force feedback than I use or need, but not so much that it's overkill either. I found myself running this wheel somewhere between 60 to 80% of its power for my best results, depending on the car or game. At that level of power, the Alpha Mini base can give me a really good feeling of oversteer, and that quick lightening of the wheel to match the moment, as well as understeer, and that heavy feel in the wheel as the friction of the road fights against my tires. It's these differences when our wheel goes light or heavy that gives us those clues to counteract those energies and get the car to go where we actually want it to go. And the Simagic Alpha Mini delivers it like a bigger wheelbase than its actual rating. One of the other advantages of the Alpha base is the high resolution and accuracy of the wheel. It is nearly impossible to see the individual movements or any delay whatsoever in getting the information to and from the game. For those looking for precision, this will be noticeable, and for those perhaps who are a little too erratic to feel those benefits, they will still get the advantages of that fast and accurate reading from the wheel. Another moment that I really like the power, balance, and speed of this wheel is when I'm running over rumble strips and getting that super fast vibration in addition to the steering forces of the cornering and even the big bump of the bumpy curbing. You can really feel each layer being delivered separately and building up or down on the tension of the wheel. I know this review isn't about the wheel rims, as we've already covered them, but I feel that I can't fairly talk about the wheelbase without bringing the wheel rims back into play. I appreciate the quality of all three wheels that I have tested with, as well as reviewed, and the newer offerings from Simagic are even nicer than these, meaning that once into this ecosystem, the wheel rims are at least as nice as the bases, and there is a good enough selection to choose from depending on your budget and style of racing. The rims are built tough enough to handle the strength of this wheelbase, and they actually enhance the rigidity and the smoothness of the base itself. Just like when I tested the Simagic Alpha base, I found it that the profiles that you could load for each sim worked very well out of the gates. So for those who weren't going to spend a lot of time tuning or dialing settings in, you could just get away with changing the overall game force feedback, and you're going to get very good results out of this wheel. Now for me, I always talk about us trying to match or get the preconceived notions of what the car we're driving feels like. I mean, most of us haven't driven the car that we're driving in sim, so again, it is a preconceived notion of what we think, but that's fine. And that is what we're trying to match and tailor whenever we're driving a sim or car in any kind of game out there. So for me, with the Simagic, I again talk about how fast, how smooth, how quick turning the wheels were, almost to the point then faster than my preconceived notions of real life. So for me to get the most out of it, it was usually getting the force feedback level the right amount, and then usually adding a little bit of friction or damper just to slow the wheel down just a little bit, give it a little bit more resistance when doing that initial turning of the wheel. This didn't so much change the overall feeling of the wheel in terms of the force feedback from the game, as much as it changed the way the wheel turned and the amount of weight that the wheel felt like it was pushing. The Simagic Alpha Mini wheelbase provided many laps of very happy racing and checked every box that a sim racer could possibly have as a requirement for a wheelbase. Well, that pretty much tells you everything you need to know about the Simagic Alpha Mini base, but let's go ahead and make things perfectly clear. Let's go ahead and point out the most important aspects of this review with the good, the not so good, and the bottom line, starting off with the good, and that being, it has very nice construction and finish. Good force feedback. Powerful base, more than I need. Very smooth turning wheel. Compact base. No flex, base, shaft, quick release, or the wheel rim. Multiple mounting options. Really cool quick release. Wireless wheel connection. Small base for 10 Newton meters. Save multiple profiles. Good selection of rims to choose from. And now on to the not so good. And I'm going to start off with, it is a little expensive, but again, at $5.99 for 10 Newton meters, you're going to find that is right in line with the cost of DDs in today's market. Proprietary wheel rims only. Wiring out of the sides. And now on to the bottom line. I really don't have anything negative to say about this wheelbase. It has actually become one of my favorite options for sim racers who are getting very serious about sim racing. When you're ready to step up from the plastic wheels, which have done us all very well and will still win a lot of races in today's market, but when you're ready to step up to that type of quality of hardware that's going to last you forever, when you're getting into sim racing and you have a little bit more coin, a little bit more budget, I think this is going to be that sweet spot. 10 Newton meters, $5.99 is a very reasonable price. So again, when I talk about the not so good, expensive, it's relative to people on a very tight budget. I understand that. And you know what? A Logitech, a Thrustmaster, inexpensive, a wheelbase is going to do you just great. I can still win races all day long on those, but at some point when you're looking for a wheelbase that isn't going to just break after a couple of years of hard use, you're ready for a direct drive wheelbase, you're ready for something serious, this is a great option. The other thing is, when I thought about Simagic, even back in the Alpha review, they had a very small lineup of wheels. You only had the 3 to choose from. They are all fantastic wheel rims, but it was just the very beginning days of their ecosystem. When I consider the amount of time since then to where we are now, and the expanded lineup of wheel rims, the expanded lineup of hardware across the board, the updated software, Simagic has really gotten a lot larger and given you a lot more freedom of choice within their own lineup of products. And in the end, even though they are not a lot less expensive than Fanatic or say Simucube, or certainly are a lot less expensive than Leo Bodner, they are part of the wave of seeing at least a maximum or a ceiling, or where prices are stopped going up at the same rate more than we're seeing a big reduction in price. So again, in closing, I do want to thank Ricmotech, the North American supplier for Simagic gear, who sent this over for review, so you can check them out at ricmotech.com. You can also check them out at simagic.com, see the entire product lineup and all those good things. But again, this is one of my favorite wheelbase options that you can choose from in that 10 Newton meter market. So I think that's something really important, really something to focus. The mounting options, the smoothness, the adjustability in the software, the lineup of other products, a lot of things that really make me happy with this wheelbase, including getting it in at a somewhat reasonable budget. Well, that should tell you just about everything that you need to know about the Simagic Alpha Mini base, the mighty mouse of direct drives, I'll call it. Be sure to subscribe to our channel so you can get a message on our next review when it comes out. Be sure to thumbs up this show if you like what we did here today. And most of all, thank you for watching. This is the Simpit. I'm Shaun Cole, and I'll see you on the track.